Sakamoto strolled out of a building, sword in hand and gun at the ready, when boom, an explosion rocked the place. A group of assassins appeared, guns blazing. But Sakamoto, he just swiped his sword, deflecting all the bullets like he was swatting flies. In a flash, he charged, slicing one assassin and showering another in blood. A quick shot took down the second guy. 2 more rushed him, but Sakamoto strangled one and shot the other. The rest, they opened fire with machine guns, but Sakamoto dodged every single bullet. He shot them all down, leaving just one poor soul standing, frantically searching for him. Sakamoto popped up out of nowhere and put a quick end to that guy. Later, Sakamoto ditched his criminal past and started a quiet life. He met a beautiful woman while shopping, fell in love, married her, and they had a kid. He even opened a shop and became the perfect family man. Then, one day, Shin, an old gang buddy, showed up. Sakamoto was busy playing with a kid who often visited, trying to hit a target with a fake arrow. He missed, and while getting ready for another go, he accidentally spilled ink all over a customer's clothes. The angry man grabbed the boy and started yelling. Sakamoto just watched as the man kept going. But when the guy raised his hand to strike the boy, Sakamoto stepped in. He briefly imagined taking the guy down with a pen but thought better of it. The man stormed out, insulting Sakamoto along the way. The boy thanked Sakamoto for stepping in, and Sakamoto's wife and daughter comforted him. Shin, observing everything, praised Sakamoto's speed and restraint, even revealing that he could read minds. He pointed out that Sakamoto could have easily dealt with the man earlier. Sakamoto briefly considered striking Shin for a second, but then dismissed the thought. Shin asked if Sakamoto had truly turned his back on his violent past, and if the shop was his new chapter. He also couldn't help but comment on how much weight Sakamoto had gained, urging him to return to his old ways. Sakamoto just shrugged, saying he wasn't the same anymore. Shin tried to remind him of his fearsome past, how leaders feared and respected him. But Sakamoto, he kept eating, ignoring the whole thing. Shin sighed, mentioning how Sakamoto used to eat street food and never anything so fancy. As Shin lit a cigarette, Sakamoto snatched it away, pointing to a no-smoking sign. Shin blinked, realizing it wasn't just a suggestion, it was a subtle threat. Sakamoto could take him out if he wanted to. Before Shin could react, a man on a bicycle showed up and asked Sakamoto for help. Shin was shocked to see Sakamoto being so kind, but he followed anyway. The man needed help with a tree in his yard that had gotten way too big. Sakamoto pruned it in a flash, leaving Shin stunned. Next, a woman arrived, saying her daughter wouldn't eat. Sakamoto fixed that too, feeding the girl. Later, he dealt with 2 kids fighting over a ball, cutting it in half and ending their argument. Frustrated, Shin accused Sakamoto of hiding his true self behind acts of kindness. He called Sakamoto's appearance disgraceful and stormed off. Just before leaving, a little kid threw a toy arrow at Shin's head and ran off, causing Shin to snap at the child. As he got into his car, he reflected on how much time had passed since he'd last seen Sakamoto. Sure, Sakamoto had put on some weight, but he was still as fast as ever. Despite his frustration, Shin couldn't help but feel a little happy, secretly wishing he and Sakamoto could team up again. Then, his boss called. "Did you convince Sakamoto to come back?" the boss asked. "No," Shin replied. "Did you kill him?" the boss pressed. "No," Shin answered again, explaining that Sakamoto had gained weight and wasn't a threat anymore. This infuriated the boss, who reminded Shin of the gang's rule. Anyone who retires must be eliminated. If you don't do it, someone else will, and you're next. Shin, feeling the pressure, ended the call abruptly. He went to buy supplies, took a bath, had a meal, and lay in bed, thinking about his boss's ultimatum. He realized that if he didn't act, someone else would harm Sakamoto. So, with weapon in hand, he made up his mind to handle it himself. The next day, Shin showed up at Sakamoto's store, claiming he was leaving the country and wanted to say goodbye. Then, without warning, Shin pulled out his gun and fired at Sakamoto. But Sakamoto deflected the bullet midair with a hard candy from his mouth. He then vanished. leaving Shin searching the store, unable to read his thoughts. Sakamoto, ever the trickster, distracted Shin with chocolates, making him lose focus. Then, using candy as projectiles, Sakamoto launched rapid strikes that Shin narrowly dodged. Shin tried to fire again, but Sakamoto threw a pack of pastries at him, throwing off his aim. Frustrated, Shin tried searching again, only to be blindsided when Sakamoto appeared behind him and knocked him out cold. As he lost consciousness, Shin caught a glimpse of the old Sakamoto, strong, fearsome, and as unstoppable as ever. Shin woke up in Sakamoto's home, greeted by Sakamoto's daughter. Shin, confused by the domestic surroundings, saw Sakamoto's wife preparing a big meal. She asked how much rice he wanted, and Shin, still suspicious, replied, "Not much," thinking the food might be poisoned. He reassured himself that he could handle it. But as he ate, the food was so delicious, he couldn't help but admit he'd never tasted anything so good. He complimented her cooking, and she joked that his reaction reminded her of Sakamoto in his younger days. Meanwhile, Sakamoto was feeding his daughter, and Shin reflected on the happy family moment, something Sakamoto had earned after leaving his violent past behind. As Shin was about to leave, Sakamoto escorted him out, and Shin, embarrassed, thanked him for the meal. Sakamoto pointed to a sign outside the shop that read, "We hope to see you again." Back at the gang's hideout, the boss confronted Shin, demanding to know if he'd killed Sakamoto. When Shin stayed silent, the boss got furious. "It's disgraceful you didn't finish the job." Shin, however, pleaded with the boss to leave Sakamoto alone. The other gang members laughed at him. The boss asked why Shin was so protective of Sakamoto, and Shin explained that Sakamoto now had a family and was no longer the same person. Shin even offered to sacrifice himself to spare Sakamoto. The boss coldly responded, "If you want to save Sakamoto, kill yourself." But Shin, reading the boss's thoughts, calmly revealed, "I never trusted you." Shocked, the boss ordered the gang to kill Shin, not realizing that Sakamoto was listening in from his shop with a hidden device. Using his quick thinking, Sakamoto turned his shop into a makeshift armory and grabbed a gun. Meanwhile, Shin fought back, taking out 4 gang members with his weapon. One of the gang tried to sneak up on him, but Shin was ready, delivering a swift neck kick that knocked him out cold. Another gang member, aiming a heavy weapon at Shin, was outwitted when Shin read his mind and dodged the attack. The boss, frustrated with the lack of progress, gathered the remaining gang members. He explained that Shin could read minds and ordered them to attack from a distance. Surrounding Shin, they closed in, but he was running low on ammo. He made his move, taking down 2 more gang members before a bullet hit his leg, leaving him immobilized. The gang aimed their guns at him, but just as things looked grim, Sakamoto arrived. With surgical precision, Sakamoto incapacitated the gang members around Shin. The boss, furious, immediately ordered the gang to kill him. But Sakamoto countered every attack. He used chopsticks to disarm and defeat several of the gang members, caught bullets with them, and even used pens to take out others. With a single leap, he grabbed a rope and used it to take out even more. Sakamoto then grabbed a weapon from one gang member and expertly dodged a stab attempt from another. He knocked out the attacker with a punch and faced the gang leader, who ordered his men to shoot Sakamoto. But Sakamoto, moving like a blur, dodged the bullets and destroyed the leader's gun, swiftly taking down the remaining attackers. Shin, impressed, asked how Sakamoto had found him. Sakamoto casually picked up Shin's gun and showed him the listening device he'd planted earlier. Shin, amazed by Sakamoto's foresight, admitted he was always right. Before Shin could finish his thought, Sakamoto tossed him a work shirt and told him he'd be working at the shop now. At the store, Shin and Sakamoto donned their work uniforms, with Shin complaining that Sakamoto's eating habits were making the noodles disappear too quickly. Sakamoto's wife and daughter arrived, and the little girl ran over to hug Shin tightly. Later, Shin helped an elderly lady find something in the store, and a young boy asked him to play. Shin said he'd play after finishing his work, and the kid asked if he liked his new job. Shin replied, "It's better than my old one," but the kid pressed further, asking what his old job was. Shin, reading Sakamoto's thoughts, realized Sakamoto was silently threatening to kill him if he revealed the truth. Nervously, Shin told the kid he used to be a cleaner. Sakamoto, without a word, continued eating, and Shin kept restocking the shelves like a pro. As Sakamoto arrived, Shin couldn't resist commenting on the previous fight, praising Sakamoto's combat skills despite his weight gain. Annoyed, Sakamoto told him to get back to work. Shin's admiration caught the attention of Sakamoto's wife, who asked if he had been fighting again. Sakamoto quickly denied it, as she reminded him of their no fighting rule breaking it meant divorce. Later, the duo headed to Chinatown, where Sakamoto bought pork for his family. While Shin admired his dedication, their trip took a turn when a young girl named Oh accidentally broke a window and landed on Sakamoto, ruining his meat. Furious, Sakamoto's frustration was interrupted by a gang chasing Oh. Oh, unfazed, quickly defeated most of her pursuers with impressive combat skills. When a thug grabbed her and another aimed a knife, Sakamoto intervened, breaking the knife with a food utensil and taking the man down. Shin fought off others, while Oh disarmed and incapacitated the remaining gang members. As more reinforcements arrived, Sakamoto grabbed Oh and fled with Shin through the chaos. At their hideout, the gang's leader, Dan, scolded his men for failing to capture Oh, emphasizing the importance of the key she carried, which controlled the black market. His ruthless brother Bito executed one of the gang members, vowing to kill anyone in their way. Meanwhile, Oh revealed to Sakamoto and Shin that she was the daughter of a mafia boss. The key she carried unlocked her family's treasures, which her parents had entrusted to her before their demise. Despite Shin suggesting she hand it over, Oh refused, leaping away to protect them and the key. Sakamoto stopped Shin from following, silently weighing their next move. Sakamoto turned to Oh and asked if she could cook pork. She confidently replied that her father had taught her. Sakamoto, eager to end the chaos, made a deal. He'd handle the gang if she cooked for them afterward. Before Shin could react, danger struck. Bito appeared, landing a powerful kick on Sakamoto and trapping him in a nearby building with the gang. Shin panicked, while Lu, observing nearby, acknowledged the worsening situation. Sun mocked Bito's diminishing skill, while Bito brushed it off, relishing in the thrill of killing. Lu explained to Shin that the brothers, Bito and Sun, were infamous assassins who delighted in tormenting their victims. Amid their banter, Shin attacked Sun, only to have his strike easily blocked. Sun taunted Shin, who confidently countered that no one understood Sakamoto's true strength. As Bito tried to ambush Lu, Sakamoto delivered a crushing punch, sending Bito through the floor. Unfazed, Sun taunted Lu, asking her to surrender the key. Lu refused, revealing it was her father's final gift, a vault key holding her family's legacy. Sun scoffed, but when Lu lunged at him in anger, Sakamoto intervened to stop her. Lu explained her father had died protecting the key from these men. When Sun threw a knife at her, Sakamoto caught it effortlessly, standing firm. Sun mocked Sakamoto for interfering, but Sakamoto remained calm, reflecting on a promise to his wife to stop killing and help others. With renewed resolve, he declared, "That's my rule, I don't kill." The brothers launched a synchronized attack, but Sakamoto skillfully evaded every strike with ease, catching knives mid-air like it was second nature. Frustrated, the brothers regrouped, baffled by Sakamoto's composure. Despite their relentless attempts, Sakamoto remained untouchable, his mastery leaving them stunned. Shin watched Sakamoto effortlessly handle the battle and asked, "You good?" Sakamoto, with a faint smile, replied, "Just a bit sore." Frustrated, Sun demanded, "How is he doing this?" Bato grinned. "I think we know what to do next." Before Bato could act, Sakamoto knocked him out with a single blow. Sun lunged but had his weapon shattered. Realizing defeat, Sun tried to escape, aiming for Lu, but Shin intercepted, yanking him down with a rope. Sakamoto sealed the deal by dropping a fridge on him. Lu, astonished, asked, "Who are you really?" Sakamoto replied casually, "Just shop workers, munching on crab." Meanwhile, Dan fumed in his office, unable to crack the vault. Suddenly, Lu appeared, knife at his throat. Panicked, Dan begged for mercy, but Lu silenced him. "Nothing will bring my father back," she said, leaving him trembling. The group turned to the vault, which Lu finally opened, revealing treasures. Amid the awe, Shin grabbed a book, only for Lu to snatch it back. Inside a small container, Lu found a letter from her father, expressing gratitude and a fond memory. As they sat eating pork together, Lu reflected, "It feels like so much was lost to get here." Next day, Lu showed up at Sakamoto's shop 2 hours late, which immediately set Shin off. He demanded to know why she was late, and Lu waved it off like it was no big deal. "Just a little delay," she said. Shin, practically steaming, shot back, "2 hours is not a little delay." When Shin checked the fridge and saw it was a chaotic mess, his irritation doubled. "You're doing everything wrong," he barked. Lu, unbothered, shrugged. Organizing isn't that important." Now fuming, Shin snapped. "Do you even have any work experience?" Lu smirked and fired back. "Sure. I used to help my dad wrap and bury bodies. Real hands-on work." That was the last straw for Shin. He stormed over to Sakamoto and demanded Lu be fired. Lu, still calm, dismissed the whole thing, saying organization was overrated. Shin insisted it was crucial for the shop's success, but Sakamoto intervened before things got out of hand. He told Shin to tone it down and calmly asked Lu to apologize if she was late again. Both Lu and Shin stared at Sakamoto like he'd grown a second head. "What's with the look? I'm just talking normally," Sakamoto said. Then he told Shin to join him outside for a chat and asked Lu to prep some pork dishes. Shin couldn't help but comment, "I don't think I've ever heard you talk this much." Sakamoto replied casually, "Maybe you talk too much," adding a playful threat to "shut up or else." Shin couldn't shake the feeling that Sakamoto was acting very un-Sakamoto-like. Before he could dwell on it, another Sakamoto strolled into the shop. Shin's jaw hit the floor. The real Sakamoto didn't flinch, watching as the imposter suddenly lunged at him with a knife. Sakamoto dodged with ease, countering so smoothly he had the fake Sakamoto pinned with a weapon in seconds. The intruder laughed and dropped the act, revealing himself as Tojo, an old acquaintance of Sakamoto. "Still sharp, I see," he grinned. Shin, thoroughly confused, wondered why he couldn't read this guy's mind. Tojo introduced himself as an old friend, claiming he owned a shop nearby. Lu, skeptical, pointed out there weren't any shops nearby. "Also, you don't look old enough to be his old friend," she added. Sakamoto confirmed Tojo's story, but clarified he was only 27. Tojo, now tied to a chair for everyone's peace of mind, calmly warned them that Sakamoto's life was in danger. "There's $1 million bounty on your head," he said. Shin snorted. "$1 million? That's it. I'd expect at least triple for him." Tojo explained that the bounty had been set by the association just yesterday, so things were about to get messy. Before they could digest this news, a pizza delivery guy walked in. Lu lit up, admitting she'd ordered it. Shin, suspicious, read the guy's mind and realized he was an assassin. The pizza guy whipped out a deadly pizza cutter and grabbed Tojo, holding the blade to his neck. "Nobody move, or he's dead," he shouted. Sakamoto didn't even blink, calmly eating his meal, which only enraged the would-be assassin. "Are you even listening to me?" he screamed. Before things got out of hand, Tojo overpowered the assassin in one swift move, choking him out cold. "Told you I was telling the truth," Tojo said, looking at Shin. He even suggested teaming up to protect Sakamoto. Sakamoto, still unfazed, told Tojo to let the guy go and leave. Tojo questioned how Sakamoto planned to handle the non-stop attacks, but quickly joked he wasn't one of the bad guys. Before heading out, he hinted that maybe it was time for Sakamoto to return to the battlefield. As he left, Sakamoto asked, "Who else is coming for me?" Tojo just smirked and said, "Classified," advising Sakamoto to stay sharp. Lu, curious, asked if every assassin would show up in disguise like the pizza guy. Tojo laughed. "Nah, assassins are unpredictable, but that'd be a little much." With a final farewell, Tojo left, carrying the unconscious pizza assassin. Shin tried to follow, but Tojo was gone in seconds. Lu then casually mentioned she had plans to head back to China. Sakamoto, meanwhile, noticed something odd on the hidden surveillance monitor connected to the association. At the association's HQ, a cleaner grumbled about all the effort being put into killing Sakamoto. "We've got bigger problems, like the black figure," he said. His long-haired colleague, however, warned him not to underestimate Sakamoto, noting he could probably kill any of them if he wanted to. Their leader cut in, warning them to be extra cautious. "Sakamoto's no ordinary target. We have to catch him outside his comfort zone and stack the odds against him," he said. The cleaner rolled his eyes, doubting Sakamoto's skills after 5 years of retirement. But their banter came to a screeching halt when Sakamoto appeared on their surveillance feed. Calmly, Sakamoto stared directly at the camera. "I'm waiting for you," he said. "Come to my shop, and I'll bury you here." The group froze in shock as Sakamoto shot out the surveillance camera hidden in the pizza box, leaving them in stunned silence. Later, Sakamoto and Shin sat outside the shop, chatting about recent events. Shin admitted he wasn't sure if Tojo could be trusted, but if Tojo was telling the truth, they were in for big trouble. Sakamoto, unbothered, told him they'd be fine for now as long as they ate, drank, and stayed sharp. However, he added, "We need to up our game. Enemies can show up wearing any face." Just then, Sakamoto's wife and daughter appeared. His daughter, practically bouncing, announced she was ready to go. "Go where?" Shin asked, curious. She excitedly explained they were headed to the amusement park, a trip she'd been dreaming about for ages. Sakamoto, scratching his head, admitted he had no clue about these plans but agreed to go anyway. The next day at the park, Lu, Sakamoto, and Shin quickly realized kids had more stamina than adults. After a dizzying ride, Lu collapsed on a bench, Sakamoto groaned about puking, and Shin joked about calling a doctor. Lu noticed Sakamoto's daughter flipping through a Sugar Bunny magazine and teased, "That thing's big enough to run a gang." Sakamoto's wife smiled, urging everyone to enjoy the day. But Shin, still on edge from Tojo's warning, suggested they keep an eye out for threats. Lu doubted they'd spot anyone, but Shin claimed he could sense murderous intent within 30 meters. Seconds later, his radar pinged the cleaner. An assassin moved in with a blade. Sakamoto effortlessly neutralized him with a pen. Shin and Lu dragged the body to the woods for cleanup. Shin admired Sakamoto's efficiency. Meanwhile, another assassin, reflecting on the failure, set his sights on Shin, deeming him the bigger threat. Back at the park, Shin sensed another presence. A long-haired man brushed past, noticed only by Lu. The assassin drew his gun but missed. Shin used a broken chair as a weapon, charging at the man. The fight escalated onto the ride's rails, where the assassin mocked Shin's resolve. Shin fired back. Sakamoto protects his family, that's why he never loses. The battle spilled onto a stage mid-performance. Disguised as a mascot, Shin knocked the assassin back, prompting cheers from the unaware crowd. Sakamoto's wife called it incredible, clueless about the danger. With Sakamoto's guidance, Shin delivered a knockout blow. The audience applauded, none the wiser. Another day, another assassin defeated. Lu, panicked, searched for Shin as chaos erupted. 2 more assassins arrived, including Akbar, who complained about crowds. Her partner reminded her to focus on their mission, only Sakamoto was the target. Lu treated Shin's poisoned eyes with an antidote. Shin winced, and Lu noted their luck in having the remedy. The assassin smugly claimed he always carried such precautions. When Sakamoto interrogated him, Lu interrupted, confirming his knives were poisoned. She lightly stabbed him, threatening to spill the antidote unless he cooperated. The assassin revealed he was hired by Dengani, a company notorious for sending assassins on solo missions. He cynically remarked that everything after death was toxic, prompting Shin to call out his earlier arrogance. The assassin admitted he wasn't loyal to Dengani, he just wanted to survive. Curious, Shin asked if he was registered with JIA, an organization managing professional assassins. Lu was puzzled, and Shin explained that both he and Sakamoto were former members. Impressed, the assassin asked if Sakamoto was truly a legend. Sakamoto didn't answer, but his wife and daughter arrived. His wife noticed the restrained assassin, and Shin quickly covered by claiming it was a performance act. Sakamoto's daughter announced lunch, and they left, leaving the assassin behind. Before departing, she placed a bandage on his hand, complimenting his performance. Once alone, the assassin freed himself with a hidden knife, muttering about trying again. Later, in a restroom, Batso washed his hands when Bold appeared, cryptically stating he was there to deal with him. Agbur attacked Batso for failing his mission. Batso, exasperated, realized they were both unhinged yet lethal. Bold declared they had come to finish his job, and Agbur excitedly anticipated meeting Sakamoto. Bold revealed Sakamoto would recognize him by a scar, though it was from tripping, not Sakamoto. Their bickering left Batso in disbelief. Meanwhile, Sakamoto's family moved to a haunted house ride. Shin grew wary of an ambush. While Sakamoto's wife and daughter enjoyed the scares, an assassin attacked Shin but failed. He then targeted Sakamoto, who countered seamlessly while pretending to be scared. Shin marveled at his ability to fight unnoticed. Sakamoto handed Shin an ID card, revealing the attacker was a newly registered first-class assassin. Shin scoffed, but Sakamoto remained cautious. Bold and Agbur monitored them via surveillance. Bold smirked, asking Agbur if she was ready for some horror. Inside, Sakamoto neutralized another assassin while maintaining his facade. Outside, Bold and Agbur continued arguing. Agbur admired Sakamoto's strength despite his weight, eager to face him. Bold, annoyed, shattered a bottle, recalling his past admiration for Sakamoto. He once claimed assassins couldn't love, yet Sakamoto's locker overflowed with Valentine's gifts. Humiliated that Sakamoto didn't remember him, his resentment grew. In the haunted house, Lu wished to leave, but Sakamoto's daughter wanted to see more zombies. Shin teased Lu for lacking courage. Frustrated, she drank from a bottle revealing it was alcohol. Disgusted, Shin threw it away. As they continued, Lu opened a shaking door despite Shin's warning, unleashing hidden assassins. Amidst the chaos, Bold ambushed Sakamoto, sending them crashing to the upper floor. Bold demanded if Sakamoto remembered him. Sakamoto, unimpressed, replied, "Number?" Furious, Bold threatened him. Sakamoto coolly asked about Bold's family, but Bold sarcastically dismissed him. Shin searched for Sakamoto's wife and daughter, finding them unconscious. Before he could react, Agbur appeared with assassins, taunting him. As she attacked, Lu intervened. Agbur admitted Lu's strength gave her chills. Meanwhile, Bold pressed Sakamoto for recognition. Sakamoto, still indifferent, asked about Bold's family. Bold snapped, "Go figure it out yourself. I'm not your mother." Bold launched explosive pellets, shaking the room. Agbur overpowered Lu, shaking her violently until she collapsed. Turning to Shin, she taunted him, restraining him on a metal frame. One assassin revved a chainsaw. Agbur declared every 10 seconds she'd strike Lu, and if Lu didn't respond, Shin would be cut apart. Lu, crying, apologized, admitting she couldn't help. Shin, trying to ease the moment, muttered that she was still drunk. Bold confronted Sakamoto, claiming he had weakened in retirement. He accused Sakamoto of losing his edge and attacked with explosive pellets and rocket punches. Sakamoto reeled under the assault. He delivered a devastating kick, sending Sakamoto crashing into the walls. Lighting a cigarette, Bold sneered, "Sweet dreams, Sakamoto." But then, Sakamoto's voice cut through the smoke, calm yet menacing. "Farewell to the days of your adolescence with me." With determination in his eyes, Sakamoto declared, "Now I'll show you what I'm truly capable of." Lu endured Agbur's blows but stumbled after a kick. Tired, she dodged Agbur's next attack and struck back using her hair. Shin, restrained, feared it was over, recalling Agbur's ultimatum to hit Lu every 10 seconds to save his friend. Agbur landed a strong kick, warning Lu to stop joking, but Lu laughed, teasing Shin for trembling. She drank alcohol while dodging Agbur's attacks. then kissed Agber's hand before landing a powerful strike. Agber, exhilarated, begged Lu to kill her, but Lu refused, citing her family's rule against killing. When Agber questioned Lu's idea of family, Lu defended it, mentioning Shin, Sakamoto, and his family. Angered by Agber's mockery, Lu moved to punch her but only touched her face instead. Suddenly, Lu lost her memory, confusing everyone. Agber hugged Lu, admiring her strength. Sakamoto, trusting his family to save themselves, abruptly punched Bold, demolishing a building. Their fight escalated. Sakamoto overpowered Bold's attacks, countered explosive balls, and used them against Bold. When Bold questioned his strength, Sakamoto revealed his past of using power destructively but now fought to protect his loved ones. At an amusement park, two people were startled as Sakamoto and Bold crashed near them. Seated in a ride cart, Bold admitted Sakamoto was tough. Elsewhere, Sakamoto's wife woke up, finding Shin and Lu asleep. She questioned how they got there, learning they lost consciousness in the haunted house. Concerned about Sakamoto, she sent Shin to find him. Back on the ground, Bold dismissed an employee's inquiry about their injuries, only to be confronted about the destroyed ride cart. Sakamoto ordered 5 sandwiches, and Bold, despite dismissing Sakamoto's words, asked for a bite. As Sakamoto ate, Bold informed him that a gang had placed a bounty on his head. Just then, Sakamoto's wife appeared, furious upon overhearing the word reward. Lu distracted their daughter, Hana. Sakamoto admitted the bounty, angering his wife for not informing her. Bold explained that Sakamoto wanted her to enjoy the amusement park without worry. When she demanded honesty, she showed Sakamoto their family rule book, citing rule number 6, no secrets. Sakamoto agreed to tell her everything. With the issue settled, the wife insisted they go watch the show, and Bold acknowledged her toughness. Shin asked Sakamoto how to resolve the issue, and Sakamoto suggested killing the presenter to make the gang cancel the contract, but they first needed to identify them. Agber revealed that the reward was from Jia, making it difficult to track the presenter. Bold mentioned his boss might know, prompting Shin to insist he call and find out. Bold resisted, but Shin called him useless, pushing Bold to agree, with Agber accompanying him. Meanwhile, Shin asked about Dungani's location, and Sakamoto said he knew someone who could lead them to him. On the way, Shin grew irritated, and Lu asked if he was in pain. Shin admitted he didn't understand how Sakamoto had regained weight so quickly. They arrived at a man's office filled with movies. Sakamoto explained that information was sold here in movie form and led them to the screening room, where they watched a recording of Dungani's presentations. Shin took note of the location, while Lu felt sad after the movie ended. At checkout, Sakamoto covered the high bill, explaining he had savings. Before they left, the employee warned Sakamoto that someone from his team was involved, but he had no further details. Meanwhile, Nagumo attended a business lunch where he was questioned about Sakamoto. He denied seeing him recently, but Heo expressed doubts about his loyalty and attempted to stab him. Nagumo deflected the attack with a fork, joking about saving the killing for dinner. The man with yellow hair, Shishi, told Saraji they weren't involved, but Soraji, distracted by food, called the chef over. Shishi slammed the chef's head onto the table, stabbing his hands over unwanted onions in his meal. Mr. Era from Jia arrived, complimenting their gathering. Heo mentioned their group was incomplete, with 3 missing, including Takamura. Shishi speculated Takamura had simply forgotten. Mr. Era then presented a photo, revealing that someone from Jia had been lurking around. Meanwhile, Sakamoto, Shin, and Lu approached the Don Kawi building discreetly. Inside, Shin and Sakamoto took down guards, disguised themselves, and scaled the building. After Sakamoto stunned a guard and Lu tied him up, they reached the leader's office, only to find dead guards and Nagumo waiting. He jokingly stabbed Shin before revealing his investigation into brutal assassinations marked with an X and warning Sakamoto about his rising bounty. Meanwhile, an assassin marked another victim with an X, and at Sakamoto's store, an intruder fell into Lu's trap. An assassin struggled to afford his pet bird's lavish diet and his own living expenses, believing killing Sakamoto and claiming the billion-dollar bounty would change his life. Meanwhile, Shin was cleaning up after another attack on Sakamoto's store, complaining about the constant repairs. Since they lacked funds, he suggested entering a competition to win money. Just then, an assassin entered, asking for Sakamoto, but was easily fooled by Sakamoto's denial despite the store's name being on the sign. Shin, reading the assassin's thoughts, realized his mind was mostly occupied with food. Eventually, the assassin admitted he had no money, prompting Sakamoto and the others to feed him. Grateful, he left to continue his search. That night, he camped out, recalling how the assassin guild had deemed him unfit for the job. A gust of wind tore his tent apart, and as he despaired, a flyer for a competition with $1 million prize landed in his hands. The next day, Sakamoto and Shin arrived at the event, picking up communication devices. Lu refused to participate but showed up to support them. The assassin also arrived, only to be rejected for not having a team. Desperate, he begged Shin, who, frustrated, registered them together. The first event was a paintball shootout. Despite his clumsiness, the assassin displayed insane accuracy, shocking Shin. As the battle raged, Sakamoto calmly thought about upgrading his store. Midway, the assassin excitedly declared he had friends now. However, when Lu accidentally revealed Sakamoto's identity, the assassin turned serious, calling him a liar. Before he could act, other competitors attacked, forcing them to split up. The assassin, an expert sniper, fired ricocheting shots at Sakamoto and Shin, but they dodged. He recalled past failures always being second-rate except in sniping. Determined to prove himself, he had taken on the mission to kill Sakamoto. Shin, reading his thoughts, told him to prove himself to himself, not others. The assassin, unfazed, fired again, but Sakamoto hurled a stone, shattering his rifle. Realizing he couldn't win, the assassin broke down. Team Sakamoto won the competition, receiving prize money. Away from the crowd, the assassin lamented his uselessness, but Sakamoto reassured him he was an incredible sniper. Later, Shin handed him his share, a pitiful amount, claiming he'd caused too much damage. Back at the store, Sakamoto's wife scolded him for spending all the winnings on city repairs, but was relieved he was safe. When Shin asked how she met Sakamoto, she fondly recalled his huge, sweet smile. Annoyed, Sakamoto imagined stabbing Shin for reading her thoughts, warning him never to do it again.